All right. Hello, I am Dr. Galliano, and welcome to our live session number 1 for SEC 4303, Information Systems Security Policy Analysis. So in this course, we'll be using the Developing Cybersecurity Programs and Policies textbook, 3rd edition by Omar Santos on the VitalSource platform. And what I'm going to do this evening is I'm going to run you through several demos since this is a first session, and then just do kind of a high-level flyover, if you will, of the course. And so what I'd like to start with, is a quick review of the course learning outcomes. So this is what you should expect to get out of this course over the next 8 weeks. So upon completion, you should be able to discuss the life cycle of policy enactment. You should be able to develop security policies. You should be able to create a dissemination plan for a policy. You should be able to analyze a security policy, determine how complete it is. You should demonstrate a familiarity with a wide range of substantive issues in IS security policy creation. You should be able to design a research project on an IT security-related problem, and you should be able to communicate the findings of your research project related to that IT security problem to organizational management. So those are the 7 learning outcomes for the course. Now, as far as grading goes, we will have 8 discussion boards worth 2% over the course of the 8 weeks. So that's 16% of your grade. We will have assessments, 2 of those worth 9% each. And we will have a case study in units 3, 4, and 7. Those are worth 9, 9, and 11% each. You'll do a research paper in unit 6, and then you'll round things out with a final project in unit 8. And that makes up 100% of the grading over the course. Now, let's go ahead and do our first demo for the evening. So you should see now the start here portion of the course, and you can see my welcome video. You're welcome to view that at your leisure. But what I want to show you is the actual Vital book. So I'm just going to click into one of the units. You can see here that I've went into unit 1. And once we get into unit 1, well, actually, I'm just going to go to the e-textbook link. That's going to take you to this landing page. And then I'm going to click the link for Developing Cybersecurity Programs and Policies 3rd edition. And that's going to launch us into the course textbook. Now you can see that we were redirected to online vitalsource.com. And I'm going to go straight to the cover page. And there you have it. Actually, continue reading here. And so there is the cover page for the textbook. It is a Pearson VUE textbook. So I'm going to make this just a little bit bigger. Now, for those of you that are not familiar with VitalSource, the e-textbook platform that we use at Columbia Southern, I want to give you a quick run through. So once you come into VitalSource in the web page, you're going to get kind of a menu bar across the top, a navigation bar across the bottom, table of contents on the left, and the actual book content on the right. Now we're showing the cover here, but as we click through portions of the book, that will be replaced by the content within the book. Now, each of these is kind of characterized by what I call flyouts, right? So if you don't want to see the table of contents, you can click that on and off, and you'll expand the area you have for the actual book content. Likewise, there's a flyout over here for the right margin, and that's going to give you context-sensitive information for the margin of each page of the book. At the bottom, we can actually click a bookmark, and so I've just bookmarked the cover page of the textbook. And then I can grab this little grab handle here, and I can quickly go to any section within the book that I might want to. And you can see that along the bottom, the chapters in the book are updating as I go along in the book. So I'm going to drop back to page 20, Cybersecurity Policy. And so that's where we learn about policy. And you can see I'm scrolling up and down here. So I am now at the beginning of chapter 1 on page 2. Now I can also click through one page at a time by clicking this caret symbol at the bottom that says next. And that's going to take me through a chapter at a time. So you can see I go from 72 to 104 and so on. I can always click back out on the table of contents, and I can essentially do the same thing just by coming here and clicking on page 2, or rather chapter 2 and chapter 3. But the added bonus I get here is if I expand a chapter, or expand it, then I can look through the major sections of that chapter, right, as it's broken up by the author's subheadings there. And that will be very similar throughout each of the chapters within the book. I can also collapse all at once, and I can expand all at once, or I can just do that one chapter at a time. Now, one of the killer features I want to show to you or demonstrate is in the table of contents, you get an ellipsis. If you click on the ellipsis, you'll get a menu where you can click on citation. And when you click on citation, if you go automatically to APA, because we use the APA 7th edition here at Columbia Southern, now you can just click this copy button, and now you have an APA compliant citation to use in your discussion posts, your case studies, your research paper, and so on. And so that's very handy. The only thing you have to add to this is the chapter or the page number, and then you're set to go. So I'll demonstrate that one more time, and I'll collapse everything here. So let's say we're going along here, and we want to answer a question or include some piece of research about, let's say, assets, for example. So I'm going to go ahead and click out the table of contents. I'm going to click on the ellipses, and I'm going to click on the citation link. Once I've done that, I'm going to make sure I'm on APA, and I'm going to click copy. Now I've copied that citation. I see the copy flyout, so I'm going to go ahead and close that. And then I'm going to note that I am in chapter 4, or that I'm on chapter 8, or page 8 rather. So now when I do my citation, it becomes a simple matter of saying, according to Santos, and what do we say it was for the year? This one is 2018. 2018, I can give a direct quotation and quotation marks. I can paraphrase the information. And then at the end of that quotation or paraphrase, then I'm going to say in parentheses P.8 for page 8, or I might say chapter 4 if I'm paraphrasing from the entire chapter. So it makes it really easy. So I encourage you to use that. And then I want to show you a couple of other killer features with this VitalSource book platform. So along the menu bar, along the top here in the right corner, I want to make sure you can see that. I may need to change the view here just a little bit. So I'm going to go 1-1 here. I don't know why it's not showing that. that doesn't help. Well, in the upper right corner of that menu bar, you're going to see some icons. That's a little better, I think. You're going to see a search across the book. And this is by far probably the best feature of these ebook platforms. So let's say I was interested, I don't know, in assets. And so you can see as I type, the search hits start populating, and it looks like I have a hit on page 145 for information, assets, and systems. I can click that, and it will take me directly to chapter 5, asset management, and then information, assets, and systems. And so I've got all the information right there at my fingertips that I might want as I'm researching that topic. Now, that's the search feature, right? I can also go to reader preferences here, and I can change the way that my, the size of my text, the font, the mode. I can make the margin larger or smaller, like that. I can change the spacing. Maybe I need a little bit more room in order to make it digestible, whatever the case might be. I can also go to highlighters here, and I can select my default highlighter. I can add new highlighters, and it makes it just really handy for doing that. So I changed baby blue actually to orange. So I'm going to change that back to baby blue and say save. If I wanted to add a new one, then I could do the orange, outrageous orange, add that. Change this one back to baby blue, say save, and now I've got 4 or 5 highlighters that I can tap into there. Now I like the fast highlight feature, so I always come in and turn that on. I'll demonstrate that in a minute. And then I have the sharing feature, right? So anybody who cares to see my shared highlights can see that as I'm reading through the book, or I can share. I can actually tap into somebody else's shared highlights if they provide me an email. All right, so I'm going to click out of that, and then I'm going to show you the highlights, notes, bookmarks, and flashcards. So once I do that, I'll see all of my annotated highlights. And so you can see I've got 3 or 4 that I've pre-staged here in the course. If I click those, it takes me directly to those. And I can see what it was that I highlighted previously. So I'll just click a couple of those, right? So, okay, so there we are. I can also see any notes that I've taken in association with a highlight. And I can also see any additional highlights that don't show on the bar there. So I'm going to go ahead and go back, clicking on any one of those that I care to see. And then I'll show you the bookmarks. So here's a bookmark I set in chapter 5. So I can quickly come back to that if I set that to read later. And then a feature that I've not made use of is the flashcard feature. So you can do something like when we're talking about identification, classification of information, assets, and systems. Let's say I wanted to come back to the information about a loss of confidentiality, integrity, or availability. And then see, as I clicked on that and let go, it did that fast highlight for me, right? So, I mean, that's about as close as you can get to real highlighting in a physical book, but doing it in a digital sense. So I like that. So I'm going to turn that off for a minute because I want to demonstrate this other feature. Let's see, how did I get to that before? I'm going to do a clear there. Oh, that was under the preferences, I think. Highlighters. Fast highlight, turn that off. Now I'm going to go back to the flashcards because I do want to demonstrate that. So I'm going to grab this information here again. And then once I did that, it gave me these options to choose from, right? Now, if emoticons are your thing or emojis, you can put emojis next to certain things that you highlight. You can add a note. You can copy. Now, this is, again, is another one of those killer features. So I've highlighted information. I can say copy, and now I've got that in my clipboard, so I can copy that directly into a paper that I'm working on or a discussion post. I'm going to go grab that again. Whoops, I moved too fast there. Okay, there it is. I can also do a pivot to Wikipedia, but what I wanted to show you here was this create flashcard. So I'm going to call this flashcard deck 4303. Click on save. And now I've got a flashcard. So if I want to go to the study mode here, it's going to take me to my flashcards. And it tells me I have nothing here. So maybe it takes a little while for that to show up. So we'll come back to that in a minute. Oh, because I guess I haven't created this, right? So a loss of confidentiality. So let's go to the back of the card. Unauthorized. Actually, I think the better way to do this is say what is a loss of confidentiality, and we'll do that, and then we'll grab the unauthorized disclosure of information. We'll copy that, and then we'll paste it in here. Okay, so now we should have a good flashcard that we can click back and forth on. Now, if we go to that study mode, we say, okay, what's a loss of confidentiality? We say, well, it's a loss of privacy, something like that, right? We can flip the card. Oh, no, it's actually the unauthorized disclosure of information. So I'm going to click on I don't know it, and I'm going to go to the next card. And if I get enough of those cards, it can be an effective study tool, right? So I'm going to say done there, and I'm going to close the deck, and that's going to take me back to the book, of course. So that's how you can make flashcards. So it's kind of a cool feature. And then there are some beta features. The emoji reactions, you saw those already. And then you can select a term in the book. So let's select confidentiality and then define, and it's going to immediately give me a definition for that term. And then you can also have the book read itself. So let's try that.
Chapter 5. Asset Management and Data Loss Prevention. Chapter Objectives. After reading this chapter and completing the exercises, you will be able
to do the following. Assign information ownership responsibilities.
Responsibilities. Develop and use information classification guidelines.
Okay, I don't know about you, but I don't know how much of that I could actually put up with. But some people do like that feature, right? So you can actually have the book read itself to you. All right, so that's enough about the features of the book. I'm going to close out of that. And I'm going to go back to fast highlight. And let's say I wanted to highlight section 8 here. I can do that just by clicking on that, letting go. I can quickly change my highlighting coloring. Well, I guess I have to click it twice here. Not quite sure why that didn't change color, but let's try it again here. Let's see. I wonder, I think I've actually bumped into this before. I think on the fast highlight feature, it goes with whatever the default is. So if we click on that, turn on fast highlight, and come back. Nope, made a liar out of me. So I think that you can experiment with that on your own and figure out how to change the color for the fast highlight. All right, so then that's the end of the first demo. And with that, let's click on in the syllabus of the course. Now the syllabus is very useful. It's got the information that we've already covered, but it tells you all about the course. So I do encourage you to read this. But what I really like about it is it's a one pane of glass view of course assignments, right? So I can come in here and click on Unit 1, and I can immediately see, well, let's see, I've got access to the study guide, I have the discussion board, I have an assessment I need to do, and that's it for Unit 1. And then in Unit 2, I've got the study guide again, a discussion board, and an assessment. I can go to Unit 3, I've got a study guide, discussion board, and now my first case study where I'm going to look into policy writing approach. And so that makes it really easy. You don't have to be clicking in and out, in and out, in and out. You can kind of see it all from a single page. I do want to take you into the study guide. A lot of students don't even realize the study guide exists, and we've actually spent quite a bit of time putting these together for you. So this can really be the guide for each unit in the course. And if you look at this study guide, I think you'll find that you have everything you need at kind of a high level. And then you can kind of go to the textbook and skim through the content there, right? So it tells you exactly what you're going to be learning in Unit 1. And then each book, chapter in the textbook that corresponds. And then we give you a high-level overview of what's in Unit 1, right? And we talk about policies. We talk about the relationship between law and regulations. We give you the roles and responsibilities. We outline the policy for creating policies. And then we kind of summarize things up. And then we even give you some APA citations. And we do that all in about 3 or 4 pages, and we do that every week. So that should be a really helpful tool for you. And there's one in every unit in the course. So I'm going to close out of that. And at that point, I need to go back and make sure there's nobody got their hands raised. So, okay, so we're good there. And then we've talked about the learning outcomes. We've talked about the grading. Let's go ahead and look a little bit deeper at Unit 4. So I'm going to click into Unit 4 here on the left side navigation. So in each week, I give you a short overview, like an introduction to the course. And I'm telling you, here's from a very high level what we're doing this week. And you need to do the discussion board and the case study. So again, you'll have a study guide to kind of help. You have the discussion board, and then I want to focus on the Unit 4 case study. So this is a preview of where you can upload your assignment, right? So you get the due date right here. You get the course grade, 9% of your overall course grade. You can access the grading rubric, and you can see exactly how I'm going to grade your work. All right, so 10 points for a quality introduction, and I'm going to grade you very close on this. I'm going to look for some kind of a creative hook that pulls your reader into your essay or case study. I'm going to look for a high-level background on the topic. I'm going to look for a thesis statement. And that thesis statement needs to anchor your introduction paragraph. And then I'm going to look for what the main points are. So, I have a kind of a mantra that I go by when I'm talking about essays and case studies. Tell them what you're going to tell them. That's your introduction. Tell them. That's your typically 3 main points. And then tell them what you told them. That's your conclusion. So introduction, tell them, main points. tell them what you're going to tell them in the introduction, tell them in your main points, and then tell them what you told them in the conclusion, right? And if you follow that organizational structure, you're going to do well on essays and case studies. Now, an effective introduction needs that hook, right? In other words, as your reader, why should I read your paper, your case study? What's in it for me as the reader? So maybe you lead with some kind of a quote, right? So if we're talking about cybersecurity and we're, say, writing an essay on data breaches, then maybe I get your attention with that hook by saying that, 250 million identities were breached in calendar year 2021. So that's kind of something that's going to grab my attention, and I'm going to say, oh, maybe I need to read this. It's important to me in some way because I don't want to get my identity stolen. You're going to give me a high-level background, and you're going to give me a clear thesis statement, right? Maybe it's something like, if people fail to take adequate measures to protect their identities online, they could be subject to identity theft and, a loss of significant income and reputational value. Right, and I'm just making that up off the top of my head as we're talking here. That's a good thesis, and that's what your essay is about. And then you're going to say, in this paper or in this essay, I will cover the extent of identity theft, how to prevent identity theft, and what to do if your identity is leaked online. Those are my 3 points. And so I'm going to have a paragraph or 2 or 3 paragraphs that cover each of those main points. And then in my final part of the paper, the conclusion, I'm going to basically say I covered what is the extent of identity theft, how can I protect against identity theft, and then what can you do if your identity is breached online. And I'm going to give a high-level summary of what I covered in the paper. And it's going to be a little bit more meaty than the introduction. I'm going to include maybe 1 or 2 key points from each of my 3 main points, right? I'm not going to introduce any new material in the conclusion. It doesn't belong in the conclusion. The conclusion is only to summarize what I've already covered and to make my last connection with the reader on why the things I covered are important. All right, so I'm going to close out of that. You have your assignment instructions here. Now, this case study is specifically about determining the likelihood and impact of occurrence. And it basically directs you to a case study out of the textbook on page 141. And then it tells you what you need to do. You need to come up with a 2-page document that includes an introduction, 2 threat sources, 1 adversarial, 1 non-adversarial, and then a discussion. What is the threat? What is the threat source? How can governance help? Is the source adversarial or non-adversarial? What vulnerability is it that you expect that could be exploited? How likely is the threat source to be successful and why? And then what is the extent of the damage caused? A conclusion and a references page. And then they give you some additional information here. Use your textbook as a resource and include it on your reference page and use APA format. And when they say that, means you're going to have a title page, you're going to have a references page, all of your references are going to be in APA format. And that means you're going to have, for every reference citation on the reference page, you're going to have a 1-for-1 correlation to an in-text citation in the body of your paper. All right. There's some helpful links you can go to if you don't understand citations or you need to conduct research. I do recommend you use the Columbia Southern University Online Library. And then I do want to show you the Writing Center request. So I think this will work for me. Yeah, okay, so I can see the Writing Center request form. So all you have to do is come here, you select your course from the list, you select the course name, you give my name as your instructor, you select the specific assignment, and then what it is that you need help with. So maybe you want a written response, maybe you want a critique on an article, maybe it's a proposal research paper, whatever it is, the date that it's due, and then you're going to upload your file, whatever that file might be, and then you're going to wait to get their feedback on your work. Now they need a little bit of turnaround time, so I'd recommend you get this to them, 2 or 3 days ahead of time. They say here, please allow 2 business days. So 72 hours at least. Get your finished work or your draft work to them, and they will provide you very excellent information and advice. All right, so I also want to go to the templates. So let me grab that link, and I'm going to go in here. And this is learning resources that basically came from here. And then you've got a bunch of APA topics that you can tap into. An overview, the actual 7th citation guide, a tutorial, formatting, integrating literary sources, in-text citations, some information on PowerPoint and other things like that. Also some paper examples. So you can get, for example, a case study example. So if we look at that, here is a sample case study template. And you can use that right there in your own work. So I'll leave you to kind of take a look at that. Also, here's a title page example. So this is the exact format you should utilize. And as a general rule, every assignment you submit in this course should have a title page. All right, so as we kind of wind down in time here, I'm going to come back to the main course page. And I'm going to show you the announcement screen. So here's an announcement that I posted earlier today. My welcome message, of course. And then here is the actual instructions for the live sessions and recordings. So you have that available. And then I'm going to go back to start here. And I think that pretty much wraps up everything that I wanted to share with you this evening. I've got a couple of minutes reserved for questions. So let me check the chat area to see if anybody has any questions. I am not seeing any right now. So, of course, if you're watching this recording after the fact and you have questions, feel free to just email those to me using our course email system. And so with that, I want to thank you for joining the session or watching it after the fact. And I look forward to working with you over the next 8 weeks. Have a great evening.